All right, let's talk about something we're all looking for: inner peace. And when we think about inner peace, there's one piece of advice that almost always comes to mind. You've probably heard it a million times.
Yeah, that one. Peace comes from within. Do not seek it without. It sounds so wise, doesn't it? It feels ancient, and it's always credited to the Buddha. For a lot of people, this is like the cornerstone of spiritual wisdom.
Okay, but here's the twist. As perfect as that quote sounds, there's a tiny little problem. You can't actually find that exact phrase in the oldest Buddhist scriptures. So, what's going on here? What's the real story behind this super famous saying?
Now, just because it might not be a direct word-for-word quote doesn't mean we should just toss it out. Not at all. In fact, the spirit of the quote, it's spot on. It perfectly captures the essence of the Buddhist core teachings. Think of it less as a direct quote and more like a perfect summary.
So, we're not here to just bust a myth and call it a day. We're going to use this famous phrase as a key, really, to unlock what the Buddha actually taught. We're going to dig into the deep truth behind the words, a truth that points right to the nature of our own minds. See, the Buddha taught that our inner world, our mind, is the ultimate source of everything. It's where we find either our greatest suffering or our greatest freedom. It's got nothing to do with what happens to us and everything to do with how our mind is trained to respond. So let's look at what some of the actual texts say. This verse here from the Dhammapada, which is a collection of the Buddha's sayings, really nails it. One truly is the protector of oneself. Who else could the protector be? It's all about self-reliance. With a well-trained mind, you get a protector that's, well, hard to find anywhere else. But what happens if that mind isn't trained? Well, the Dhammapada warns us about that too. The reverse is just as true. An ill-directed mind can hurt you way more than any external enemy ever could. The real battle, the one for peace or for chaos, it's happening right between your own ears. And that brings us right back to the second part of our famous quote, do not seek it without, right? If the mind is the source of everything, then looking for lasting peace in the outside world, well, it's a flawed strategy from the get-go. Let's break down why. So look at how this plays out. We chase stuff on the outside, status, money, possessions. And what's the result? We get attached. In Pali, the language of the early scriptures, that's called upadana. Or maybe we chase fleeting experiences, a good time. But that just slams us into the reality of impermanence, or anicca. And this whole cycle of seeking without just leads to one place, suffering, or dukkha. The engine that drives this whole frustrating cycle has a specific name, tanha. It's a Pali word, and it translates to thirst, craving, or desire. Now, in Buddhist thinking, this isn't just, I'd like a cup of coffee. It's this deep, nagging, persistent craving that's seen as the absolute root cause of our unhappiness. And we've all been on this treadmill, haven't we? This chart kind of shows it perfectly, if a little playfully. We got what we want, and okay, there's this little moment of satisfaction, but man, is it brief. And almost instantly, that feeling is gone, replaced by an even bigger desire for something else, something more. You can't win this game. It's designed to be unwinnable. So, okay, if seeking without is a total trap, what's the alternative? This is where the teachings pivot. They go from diagnosing the problem to offering a really practical cure, a path you can actually walk to cultivate peace from within. And at the absolute heart of this is the Four Noble Truths. I love this, because you can think of it just like a doctor's visit. First, the diagnosis. Life involves suffering. It's just a fact. Second, what's the cause? It's our craving, that tanha we talked about. Third, the prognosis, and this is the good news, the suffering can actually end. And fourth, the prescription. Here's how you do it. Here's the path. And that prescription is what's called the Noble Eightfold Path. Now, we won't go through all 8, but let's just highlight 3 that are super relevant here. We've got right mindfulness, which is about awareness, right concentration, which is about focus, and right view, which is about seeing things as they really are. Every single one of these is a tool for training the mind to look inward, not outward.
So this brings us full circle, doesn't it? The path to peace isn't about some grand discovery, finding something new and shiny out there. It's about cultivating skills that let us access a kind of stillness that is already inside us. And the Buddha laid out a whole toolkit for this. You've got meditation, or bhavana, to calm the mind and see its true nature. Mindfulness, sati, to just watch your thoughts and feelings without getting swept away. Morality, or sila, which helps support a clear, calm conscience. And wisdom, panya, to finally understand the nature of reality and yourself. These aren't just abstract ideas to believe in. They're practical skills for doing the inner work.
So in the end, whether the Buddha actually said those exact words, it kind of doesn't matter, does it? The real value of that quote is how perfectly it captures the essence of his teachings. The search for peace is not a journey outward. It is absolutely a journey inward. And you know, this might be the most beautiful part of the whole thing. Peace isn't something you have to go out and build or create from nothing. It's not something you lost along the way. The teachings suggest it's a fundamental quality of your own mind, a stillness that was never, ever missing. It was just overlooked, buried under all that noise of seeking and craving. And so that's the question we'll leave you with. If that peace, that inner stillness is always available, if it's only ever been overlooked, what have you been overlooking? Thanks for joining us for this explainer.